Some of the most influential decisions in the luxury industry are never announced the moment they happen. They emerge quietly, hidden behind carefully curated public appearances, strategic partnerships, evolving brand identities, and an endless stream of speculation that often reveals more about the audience than the people at the center of the story. That is precisely why the names Lisa and Frédéric Arnault continue to occupy the same conversation across global media. Not because an official business alliance has been confirmed, and not because the luxury world has revealed a secret roadmap, but because they each represent something that has become increasingly valuable in the 21st century: influence capable of reshaping markets. In my view, this is exactly why the conversation has become much bigger than celebrity headlines. Luxury companies don't simply evaluate popularity. They evaluate long-term influence, cultural relevance, and the ability to shape consumer perception across different markets. Luxury has never been driven by products alone. The greatest luxury houses in history did not build billion-dollar empires simply by selling leather goods, jewelry, or watches. They sold aspiration. They sold identity. They mastered the ability to convince consumers that owning an object also meant becoming part of a story. Today, however, that equation is evolving. Cultural influence has become a form of capital, and few entertainers have accumulated as much global cultural capital as Lisa. Over the past several years, Lisa has transformed herself from one of the world's biggest music stars into something even more significant: a global business figure whose decisions are followed not only by fans but also by fashion executives, marketers, investors, and brand strategists. The creation of LLOUD marked an important shift in that journey. Rather than existing solely within the traditional structure of the entertainment business, Lisa signaled a desire to build an independent platform capable of managing creativity, intellectual property, and long-term commercial opportunities under her own vision. For many observers, that move represented far more than launching another celebrity company. It reflected a broader transformation taking place across the global entertainment industry, where artists increasingly seek ownership instead of simply endorsement. This reflects a larger trend we're seeing across the entertainment industry. More artists are choosing ownership over dependency, building companies that can survive long after album cycles or concert tours. In my opinion, that's one of the smartest business shifts happening in modern entertainment. At nearly the same time, Frédéric Arnault continued building his own reputation inside one of the most influential luxury organizations in modern history. As an executive associated with the LVMH ecosystem, his career has attracted attention not merely because of his family name, but because he represents a generation expected to guide some of the world's most iconic brands through an era of rapid technological change and shifting consumer expectations. In today's luxury landscape, leadership is no longer measured only by preserving heritage. It is measured by the ability to keep heritage relevant for consumers who discover prestige through smartphones before they ever step inside a flagship boutique. From a business perspective, I think this is one of the biggest misconceptions people have about the luxury industry. Many assume executives are simply maintaining famous brands, but in reality, their responsibility is far more complex. They must protect decades of heritage while constantly adapting to changing consumer behavior, emerging technologies, and shifting cultural trends. In today's market, staying relevant can be just as challenging as building a luxury brand from the ground up. That parallel evolution explains why public curiosity refuses to disappear. Over the past few years, headlines have repeatedly connected Lisa and Frédéric Arnault through public sightings, fashion events, and persistent speculation surrounding their personal lives. Yet despite years of discussion, neither an official business partnership between LLOUD and LVMH nor a confirmed personal relationship has been publicly established by the people involved. That distinction is essential because separating verified facts from public interpretation allows us to ask a far more meaningful question. Why do millions of people instinctively associate these two names whenever conversations about the future of luxury begin? The answer may have less to do with celebrity gossip than with the extraordinary transformation of the luxury economy itself. Modern luxury brands compete for something more valuable than visibility. They compete for relevance. In a world flooded with content, products can be replicated, marketing campaigns can be imitated, and trends can disappear overnight. What cannot easily be copied is authentic cultural influence. Lisa's ability to command attention across music, fashion, beauty, and digital platforms has made her one of the most recognizable global ambassadors of modern luxury. Every campaign she participates in extends beyond traditional advertising, because her audience does not simply consume products, they participate in narratives, communities, and identities built around them. That is where LLOUD becomes especially interesting from a business perspective. Independent companies created by globally recognized artists increasingly function as long-term intellectual property platforms rather than simple management agencies. They create flexibility. They allow founders to control licensing opportunities, creative collaborations, brand extensions, and future investments without relying entirely on legacy industry structures. Whether LLOUD eventually expands through entertainment, fashion, beauty, technology, or entirely new ventures remains unknown. What is already visible, however, is the strategic value of independence in an industry where ownership has become one of the most powerful competitive advantages. Before we go any further, there is one overlooked detail that changes how this entire story should be viewed. It has nothing to do with rumors, photographs, or internet speculation. Instead, it reveals why the world's largest luxury companies have become increasingly interested in something that cannot be manufactured inside a factory, purchased through acquisition, or replicated by algorithms. And once that connection becomes clear, the conversation surrounding lalisa, LLOUD, and the future of modern luxury begins to look very different. That overlooked detail is trust. In the luxury business, trust is what transforms a recognizable name into a lasting brand. Consumers may discover a product through advertising, but they remain loyal because they believe in the story behind it. This is why influence has become one of the most valuable currencies in the global luxury economy. It is no longer enough to produce exceptional craftsmanship. Brands must remain culturally significant, emotionally relevant, and capable of inspiring new generations whose purchasing decisions are shaped as much by digital conversations as they are by traditional prestige. Lalisa sits at the center of that transformation. Her influence extends far beyond chart-topping music or sold-out concerts. She represents a generation of global creators who understand that long-term value comes from ownership, strategic positioning, and carefully managed brand identity. LLOUD is more than a business venture. It reflects a broader shift in which artists are building ecosystems around their creativity instead of relying solely on existing entertainment structures. That approach has already reshaped industries ranging from fashion and beauty to technology and sports, making celebrity entrepreneurship one of the defining business stories of the decade. Meanwhile, Frédéric Arnault represents another side of the same evolution. His career illustrates how established luxury groups are preparing for a future where heritage alone is no longer enough. The next generation of luxury leadership must understand digital audiences, global culture, and changing consumer expectations without compromising the exclusivity that defines premium brands. That balancing act has become one of the industry's greatest challenges, and it explains why every executive move inside companies like LVMH attracts attention far beyond financial markets. This is also where media narratives become remarkably powerful. Throughout recent years, public discussions have repeatedly linked Lalisa and Frédéric Arnault, encouraging countless theories about both their personal and professional worlds. Yet there remains an important distinction between observation and confirmation. Personally, I think this distinction is often ignored online. Speculation can generate attention, but it should never replace verified information. That's why I prefer looking at how these stories influence branding and public perception rather than treating rumors as facts. Public appearances, overlapping luxury circles, or widespread speculation do not automatically establish business relationships or future corporate plans. Understanding that difference is exactly what separates thoughtful analysis from sensational storytelling. Perhaps the more compelling question is not whether LLOUD will ever intersect with the broader LVMH ecosystem, but what such conversations reveal about the direction of the luxury industry itself. Consumers increasingly expect authenticity. Founders seek greater control over their brands, and luxury companies continuously search for cultural relevance in an increasingly competitive global market. Those trends exist regardless of whether any specific collaboration ever materializes. From my perspective, the bigger story isn't whether a specific collaboration will ever happen. The bigger story is how celebrity founders are changing the luxury industry itself. Even without a confirmed partnership, the conversation reveals how valuable cultural influence has become in today's economy. In the end, This story is larger than two well-known names. It reflects the evolution of an industry where entertainment, entrepreneurship, and luxury branding are becoming deeply interconnected. Lisa's entrepreneurial ambitions and Frédéric Arnault's role within one of the world's most influential luxury organizations symbolize two different paths through that changing landscape. Whether those paths eventually cross in a meaningful business sense remains entirely unknown, and any conclusion beyond publicly available information would simply be speculation. But the conversation itself highlights something undeniable. Influence has become one of the defining assets of modern luxury. As the next chapter of the global luxury industry continues to unfold, the brands that shape the future may not be those with the loudest marketing campaigns, but those capable of creating enduring cultural value. That is why stories like this continue to fascinate audiences around the world. They invite us to look beyond headlines and ask deeper questions about strategy, perception, and the changing definition of luxury itself. If you enjoy exploring the hidden forces driving the world's most influential brands, subscribe, share your perspective in the comments, and join us for the next analysis as we continue uncovering the business stories behind the global luxury landscape.